Welcome to Women's Wealth, the podcast with me, Joanne. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower you all to step into your own life of wealth. That feeling of being so rich in your mind, body, and soul. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get straight into it. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Wealth with Joanne, and I'm so happy as always to have you all here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I have another guest with me today, second guest of the year, and I feel like this is going to be a good one for you ladies today. We've just had a very brief chat before I press record, and yeah, I'm excited to introduce Kavita to you all today. Welcome, Kavita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Hey, you're welcome. And you are the founder of Vibes Tribe, which we will go into shortly. And I've looked through the website a lot today. I was sat in the garden and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So we will share a little bit more about that as we chat. But let's just start with, who are you? Why are you here? And how did you end up creating such an amazing space for women?
Yeah, so it's interesting, actually. I have taken lots of different twists and turns and reinventions, which I think women do. So I started my career as a mergers and acquisition investment banker for defense and aerospace. Believe it or not. Yeah, this was actually right. I'm going to date myself now. It's right around 9/11. So it was a really hot and interesting space. And then I went on to do tech private equity. I got my master's out in San Francisco and then came to a turnaround firm that did consumer product turnaround. And so through this process, I probably had, I don't know, 4 home cooked meals, drank, my body weight in coffee most days. So obviously that does things to the mind and body, but nobody at that time was talking about burnout. Nobody was talking about self-care. Everybody was talking about hustle.
Bad boss girl energy, whatever it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I was mostly the only female, so I felt a lot of pressure to not pause, which I think is a mistake. I think as women, we can actually accomplish a lot more, but it's okay. We do need to pause and take that sort of break. It's like our energy, our feminine energy is powerful in its own way, but is taken care of very different than sometimes masculine energy, which I think is a really important thing. But I knew none of this obviously at that time. Ended up getting like incredible brain fog. Like I just had post-it notes everywhere. I couldn't remember a thing. And when I went to the doctor, they were like, oh, your blood work's normal, everything's normal. And so through this journey, I ended up getting introduced to a botanist who had all kinds of different concoctions and oils. And so she had given me some that to rub on, and it really worked for me.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if it was just finally taking a deep breath or relaxing, but I got really interested. And so I ended up getting certified in aromatherapy, Ayurveda, yoga, holistic nutrition, like just went down this other rabbit hole of, natural modalities. And, so one thing is to say, okay, yeah, it's the physical health, but then also there's the mental health, right? So really understanding how ancient practices really looked at both. And it's only in today's world that we look at them very separately.
Yeah. And so you've touched on so many things there. Yeah. I was like, oh, I have questions coming up.
Sorry.
No, it's good. But I love how, you've explained there, and I think a lot of women will still feel this, even though I feel like it's getting better for women, that women are thinking, right, I've used small man. Like I'm not a small man. And I know even just 10 years ago, and I always think, God, my 25, 26-year-old self would be like, what are you doing? Because she was like going to climb the ladder, and I'd finished university and done the things, and I went into teaching, and I was like, I'm going to get ahead of you, work my way up and work, and wanted to be like, just keep working. And the thought of doing what I do now, so I'm a yoga teacher working in wellness. Some days when I'm working at home, I'm sat in the garden, and my partner takes care of a lot of things for me because I'm on a freelance visa, so I'm restricted. So even just now, I'm having to get a new mobile phone and it's got to go in his name. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Just one less. I don't want the responsibility. But myself 10 years ago would be, oh my God, you've got a man doing that for you. Like you do that for yourself. And I know that's sort of like an extreme example, but I feel like we are it's very, used to be very ingrained in us to work like a man, think like a man. We've got to be as good as the men. And then, like you said, you hit that burnout because we're not built the same and we have to honor how we are built. And as soon as I started honoring, and I know you'll be able to say the same, and I'll pass it back to you, that your life changes for the better. And I've never felt healthier, fitter, energy. I sleep better. When I look at pictures of myself from a few years ago, I'm like, oh my God, how have I got younger?
Yeah.
No. So sorry just to butt in there, but when you said that, I was like, yes, this is what we need to sort of realize. And I'm guessing you had that realization as well.
Yeah, no, it was exactly what you're saying. I was like, I can do the same thing, but I can do it my way, and I can do
Yeah.
it differently by taking care of myself and honoring the energy that I have rather than trying to mirror the other energy, right?
Yeah.
And so as I started to learn and come across all these different experts, I wanted to share it with women. And I really felt like not only is women's physical health been ignored in science, but so is the mental health. So, there's very limited studies of the women's brain or, body and all of these things. But again, ancient cultures did have those practices. And so I wanted to create, I don't know if you've heard of Mind Valley, but sort of a Mind Valley, but for women going through a transition, usually in that midlife area to really explore if you want to not get a certification in Ayurveda, but maybe just learn from a doctor about how you could use it to help it in your life. And same thing with yoga or breath work or even like feng shui and how that can help your home. So it really was this place to say, you know what, it's okay if you're not okay.
Yeah.
Come join, you're not alone. Learn, because it's only through knowledge can we start to experiment, because everyone's different. What works, maybe yoga works for you, it works for me as well. But running works for some people. So it's really about not me, but
Yeah, same. I'm like,
definitely not me, but some people. And so it's really to like come explore. And I wanted to create that space to share a lot of that ancient knowledge that I felt like had been starting to get lost, so that women can know like it's okay, you can do it your way and you'll get to the same part in the end, like you'll still be successful, but you might just do it in a different path or in a
yeah,
different.
more honoring
Yeah.
ourselves. And I think, where do you think that obviously with the ancient practices, and when you look back through them, it honors the woman and the woman's body, and how our cycles, and obviously that's got lost. Where do you think that started, or why do you think we got to the 21st century and that's not even a thing? We're not taught it. You have to seek it. We've both had to go out and find it. So why do you think that happened, or where do you think it got lost? I know that's two different questions.
And I mean, this my own hypotheses around it is that we were fighting so hard for our rights that we started to mirror men,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So from everything to the way we dress to how we work, it was just like, okay, well, they do all these things. Maybe if we just do it exactly like they do it, we'll
Yeah,
have the same rights and we'll have it. And I really think that's where it started.
yeah,
And the problem with that is then people started to look at women like, okay, well, we have the scientific study around the heart for men or the brain for men. We can just apply it to women. It's the same, but it's like, it's
yeah.
not.
But it's really not. We kind of, if we go back to, kind of shot ourselves in the foot with early feminism. Like, I don't know where the
Yeah.
switch, like the history of it, but their hearts were in the right places, and then it went too far over, and now
Right.
it's kind of like we need to pull this back a little bit. And I know I was listening to, I can't remember whose podcast, and they were talking about there being two types of feminists now. That there's the hardcore feminists that I would call them the hardcore feminists, that I probably used to be one of those, that
Me too.
we can do the same as men, same jobs as men. And now I've come full circle. I'm like, actually, we can't, and I don't think we should. And you know, because we're completely different, we're built differently. And I was
Yeah.
talking to my partner the other day, and I was like, the feminists will probably shoot me. And it was when the fires were on the news and there was a viral video, and I was like, I would prefer a big strong man to come and get me out of the fire, and then the female firefighter to be there when I come out to calm me down, to make me feel better, to take me to one side and, breathe with me. And she's still a firefighter. She's still doing an amazing job, but not hooking me, trying to pick me up on her back. And I've like not in any anti way against women, but that's where our superpowers are, that caring, that nurturing, instead of forcing yourself into this role that we don't. Obviously some women will, that's just putting a blanket on there, but really allow
Yeah.
to step into these roles where, do you know what, we're nurturing, we're caring, we're intuitive, we have all of this within us. Let's really grow this instead of stepping into this I can do exactly the same as a man kind of feminism.
I would say, to me, I think you can do a lot of the same jobs. I agree. There's some definite brute force, like swing me
Yeah,
over the shoulder type that, I think some women could do, but like,
yeah, not
maybe
all of us.
men are definitely more, have
Yeah,
the soul and scientifically can build it like, a lot easier. But my point was more that, like if I wanted to be an investment banker, I could have done the same job, but I didn't need to do it the way they were doing it, which was like
yeah,
burning the midnight candle. Like I could have slept, and I think because we're so intuitive and creative, I probably could have gotten to the same point, but done it my way, done it
yeah,
differently. So like, you know
yeah,
what? It's great that you don't think you need to sleep. I do.
yeah.
I will see you in the morning, right? Like I'll see you in the morning with the same great presentation
Yeah,
and ideas, but I need sleep and maybe you don't. But it's
yeah,
just sort of respecting that self-care is something that's required. I think men need it too, by the way, but I do think women need it, and I think they need it in a different way.
yeah. And like you say, the women need 10, we need 10 hours. Is it 10 hours? And because again, the
It's
eight
more. It is actually been shown by science we need more sleep than they do.
is, yeah. So is it like, and
I
that,
think it's
and
9. I
more,
think it's 8 to 9 hours. Yeah.
yeah, more when you're on your bleed. And
Yeah.
again, does anyone get a chance to do that when you're,
Right.
if
Right.
if you're lucky, sometimes you do. And I just think, yeah, like you said, just taking that into account that, okay, I'm on my bleed, so I need to start, in an ideal world, I'm gonna come in a little bit later. You're still gonna get the work done, you
And I
still,
think what it is, it's about women getting comfortable asking for what they need, right?
yeah,
That's like a great example of saying, and I think it's okay to just even put it out there and be like, hey, I'm on my cycle. I need more sleep. I have whatever it is, and just take it. Like we're so scared to ask. And the truth is, when you're a valued member of any organization, which, most, I think women generally tend to be. So
mm,
it's okay. We're just scared. We're always scared to ask. There's that fear to ask for what you need. But absolutely, on your cycle, should you take the extra time, it's a great time for reflection. It's actually also a great time to be alone.
yeah,
So, so
yeah.
take the extra time,
The best time to be alone because it's
Yeah,
that's when I was super intuitive. Love being
yeah,
on my when I have my bleed, but again, when I was teaching in school, it was you had to just push your way through. And now when I look back and how unhealthy that was to just, but when we're not teaching, I would love to have said to the girls, like, the teenage girls when they were like, oh, miss, I've got cramps. And, I would love to have said, do you know what? Just pop your head down on the desk and take
yeah.
take a little rest. But we can't because it's kind of like, no, you just have to ignore that, keep calm and carry on, or what, just get on with it. And I
Well,
just,
and I think that's exactly it, right? We've been taught from a very young age to muscle through it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's actually not the right thing. It's not muscle through it. It's actually, no, if you need it, take time.
yeah,
Take a day off. Don't come to school. Like it should be something, if you need that break, take the
yeah,
break. I actually got my daughter a necklace, a red pendant, so she could let us know when it was happening so that we could sort of respect her space.
yeah. Oh, that's a really
Um,
good idea.
yeah, and then I also leave chocolates by the door.
And I always reflect as well on the fact, again, from the ancient practices to when our cycle, we would have honored it, and it was
Yeah,
celebration in some
mhm,
cultures when you reach that point. And
totally.
it would have been a focus of, we're all going to gather together when we bleed. And again, we've lost that. And
Yeah.
is that something that you're trying to bring back through your Vibes Tribe as well?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say this particular aspect of it because I think it's more around different self-care
Yeah.
practices, as well as different places to find joy, like different, so we do a lot of inner healing classes. There's a lot. But one of the things I did in my house with the, coming of age is when my daughter did, I was like, you can take any trip you want. Because that's what my mom did. She was like,
Yeah.
anything you want, a concert, any experience, like this is a celebration, but I
Yeah.
want you to celebrate the way you would want to celebrate because that's going to be different. So I remember she had me fly her to New York and watch a Broadway show. And so I think it's up to us as women to create that. And our cycles do tend to sync, which is, I think,
Yeah.
part of the reason that happens is because we are meant to either be alone or with each other who are going through the same,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, process.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like if we can release, say floodgate, but no pun intended,
Yeah,
open the floodgates to just allow women and give women that permission to share those experiences, whether it's online and learning, and this is what.
exactly. And then we have to remember there's that other transition when it goes away, and that can happen
Yeah.
anywhere from like
Yeah.
35 to 60, right? And there
Yeah.
is a lot of I would say the same as when you're coming into it. I think when you're coming out of it, there is a
Yeah.
lot of hormone fluctuations and mood swings and anxiety, and you're sort of it's this out of body experience
Yes. No
that I
one.
think till
No one.
maybe a couple of years ago nobody was really even talking about at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And that I think is one of those things where I think at least people are talking about the period, but menopause and perimenopause, which people
Yeah.
can be in for 10 years, that's a conversation that's not having. And so that's
Yeah.
one that Vibes Tribe is really trying to bring more to the table to say, hey, as you're going through this, not that I'm against any kind of hormone replacement or anything, but there are other modalities that you could try to take care of yourself. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to look this way. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm tired and exhausted. It's this, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, it's this because you've chosen not to engage in some active self-care.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like as soon as you reach sort of mid 30s, people, women, your friends start talking about it. And again, as if it's like, oh my God, it's doom and gloom. And like you
Yeah.
said, every symptom is like, right, I suppose I have to take this. I've
Right.
got this symptom and that's it. It's just forever
Right.
and ever until it goes away. Rather than, right, okay, let's look at my diet, or let's look at my self-care, and can I do some breath work, and oh, I have a little bit more anxiety than usual, like
Yeah.
sitting
And
down.
I think that's the time when it's really important to connect.
Yeah.
So we do a once a month live call where we connect based on the different topic or course that we've launched, but also to have these type of conversations of, I'm really overwhelmed. Like one woman came in and she's like, my son just got diagnosed with ADHD. And another member was like, no worries. I have this plan that I use that really helped me, not
Yeah.
just the son, but like as the caretaker, this is what I
Yeah.
did to help.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of conversations as women we have to be more open to share.
Yeah. And
Uh,
again, where do you think this taboo, because I was thinking about, like, I don't think my own mum will, if I don't know if she'll listen to this, so I don't know, mum, if you'll, but will have, how you have the period talk,
sure.
like, oh, should we be having like the perimenopause, menopause talk? I don't even know. I'm assuming that my mum's been through it and she's out the other side, but I don't know. She's never ever mentioned anything about it. So then as I'm getting older and, you know, that will be coming, I know it's coming, there's nothing I can do about it at some point. I'm like, do I
Well,
need to
and I think
talk? Do I
it's
need to talk from my mum? If we're lucky enough to still have like, but that isn't there either. So it's still kind of a taboo from, maybe it's a generational thing. I
It's
don't
a
know.
generational thing because women were valued only for their reproductive rights. And so no one wanted to talk about when that right was gone away, even if they weren't having children. It was sort of like menopause was like, oh, you're old. Like, I was talking about like the Golden Girls, right? So it's like that's what it used to look like to be 50. And you're like, that's not what it is anymore, right?
Yeah,
That's not the story. But no, to your point, I asked my mom when I was launching Vibes, I was like, by the way, when did you go through menopause? She's like, oh, I was really early. It was around your age. I'm like, well, that would have been useful. I mean, I already had my children, but that would have been good to know that
yeah,
I was sort of on a timeline. And so I think it's really important for people to have that as conversations
yeah,
with their parents to be like, what, when did it happen? What was your experience? It also gives them an opportunity, which they probably never had, to talk about it.
yeah.
Um,
And because I'm guessing as well, if I asked my mum, if I start or when I start to have symptoms, it's probably going to be very similar because she's my mum. So I'm like, oh, right, okay, that explains X, Y, Z. like,
Correct.
because, you're speaking to your, it's genetic, it's coming down. And I think sorry, when, as you were talking, then I just had another thought about, again, going back to the ancient practices and menopause, you were seen as the wise woman. And again, it was another celebration to get there. And you were like the pinnacle, the woman who you would go to and all of the knowledge. But again, that has got lost somewhere along the line as well and switched out for, like you said, it's bad, it's, end of life, on the shelf, whatever you want to call it.
No, you're right. And I think that's the point. It's like, let's bring women of different ages and stages together, right?
Mm,
To share that knowledge because there is a lot to gain, especially from
yeah,
your own mother. Like you said, I think it's a great conversation to have, not only when it happened and the symptoms but also how did she care for herself if
yeah,
she did it all.
yeah, yeah. I really, it must have been, I really don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to think, like, did I see any signs or symptoms that she might have had? But I don't know. I don't know. No idea. When I next see her, I'm going to ask her. I don't know if she'll even tell me. I think that, again, she's from that generation of, she might be embarrassed by it.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think part of it's to take away the embarrassment,
Yeah,
to I want to know when I might expect it
yeah.
for myself.
And what
And I
to?
think the other great conversation to have when you are talking to your mom is how are you taking care of yourself now?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they didn't speak about especially any mental or emotional health.
Mm. I know. I know my mum's self care. I don't know. She does the basics, and I think it's generational. Because I'm always like, "Mum, you need to do this. You need to do this." And she's like, "Oh, I think I'm lucky if I get her to put moisturizer on." Like whenever I go home to visit, I'm like, "Mum, let's do you a facial." Like, and she's like, "Oh, what is all of this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's like she's like never bothered. She just puts a bit of a Nivea cream on, and then she's done." I'm making her sound like really like she's not. If she is, I feel like bad if she's listening to this. But she does the things, but it's not the same self care. And again, if she was surrounded or could have access to other women her age who they can swap and share the stories, and it's such an amazing thing for them to
Right. Or just if she wanted to take 5 to 10 minutes to learn and see if it
yeah,
resonated with her, right? Like, does this practice, sometimes even simple things like how you can eat to reduce inflammation can really also affect your emotional state.
yeah,
Right. So if she was like, oh, I'll take 5 minutes a day and listen to somebody and, maybe I'll take a couple takeaways and see how that affects my life. I think it also keeps it interesting, right? Like
yeah,
sometimes self-care and things can feel a little bit boring, but if you're always trying new techniques to see what works best for you and how you
yeah,
respond to it, it just it keeps the curiosity of it rather than, oh, this is something I have to do.
yes. And what are your go-tos? What is your favorite, the self-care that you can't do without, that's like you need it in your life?
For me, it's definitely meditation
Yeah,
and affirmations.
yes, yeah,
So a lot of times if something's negative, I've just trained myself to immediately make it a positive affirmation. So even if I'm stuck in horrific traffic, I'm like, I'm always on time. Everything works in my favor.
that's what when I'm in traffic, I'm like, right, it's fine, I can listen to the podcast, I can finish my audiobook. It's
Yeah.
given me 5 minutes of sitting down and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So say when I get that little like, oh gosh, I'm like, no,
Yeah. So I really feel like that and meditation just gives me to me, it's like brushing my teeth now. It just, if I don't do it, I feel like off.
yeah. And how long do you meditate for? How much time do you give?
So 10 minutes, it's not a long time, but
Yeah,
it's the right amount for me to feel grounded and connected, I think, to
yeah,
like a power greater than myself.
yeah. I found the same when I meditate. I try to do every day, and like you say, if I'm just one of the mornings when I'm in a rush, and
Yeah.
I try and do it when I come home in the afternoon, but I can really feel it. I feel like I'm like, right, I just need my 10-15 minutes. Today I did it in the garden, just lying, and my trigger, because there was flies, and I was like, breathe every time a fly lets on me. I was breathing, but if the neighbors could see me, so I did breath work, meditation on the garden. And I think I was out there for about 40 minutes, and I can't
Wow.
explain the feeling after because the only way I can describe it is when you're really grubby and you're really dirty and sweaty, then you have a shower, and when you feel nice and clean after. That's how I feel after I've finished meditating. It's kind of like, oh, everything's okay now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I think we're just nicer, right? I think everyone's so triggered and so quick to respond and react. And to me, that's just a sign that you need to meditate. You
Yeah,
need to, because our original self is peaceful.
yeah,
Our original self is peace. And so if we're not there, it's because we haven't connected to that. And that,
yeah,
for me, through meditation works the best. I love breath work as well, just for the extra, but my can't do without would be
yeah.
meditation.
And I think, and you'll probably know a lot about this as well, that a lot of when I'm going to use the word prescribe meditation. It's the first thing I ask people if they're like, I've got this, I've got this, I've got that. I'm like, do you meditate? And obviously they'll say no. And a lot of people say, I haven't got time for that. Like, well, do you sit and scroll on your phone for at least 10 minutes a day? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, there you go. there's,
Right.
a there's a simple swap for you. And then they have this thing in their heads that they have to be sat in lotus,
Yeah, no.
your eyes closed, and like, no, you can just make it silent for 5 minutes and close your eyes. And
Right.
if you struggle I just repeat, and I still do this now when I've been meditating. I am inhaling, I am exhaling, and eventually you start repeating and you're just still.
Right. Yeah.
It's there. But this positive side effects again that no one talks about for meditation is it's helping. So if you're perimenopause, menopause, or your hormones, that your cortisol levels, your stress levels, and how amazing would it be if you went to the doctor and they also prescribed
Right.
meditation?
So our one of our meditation teachers, she was teaching about how to, once you do it regularly, you can tap into it, right? So if you hold your fingers together, and
Mm.
if you can drop yourself into that parasympathetic right before you eat, your digestion works so much better,
Oh, I
right?
didn't.
So because we're always like in this, yeah, exactly, go, 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 fight. But if you meditate enough, you can drop into that meditative state, even just for a couple seconds, pretty quickly.
Yeah,
And so when I started doing that, I was like, oh, wow. Like because I've always had digestive issues. I was like,
yeah.
wow, I feel like all of a sudden everything's working so much better. And I think that's why meditation also became my have to, because then it's like anytime before I eat, it
It's,
takes a second. And if you think about it in ancient cultures, and even today, a lot of people, they used to pray before eating.
yeah,
And it's the same concept. It was the idea of prayer before eating was to drop yourself into the parasympathetic so that you could digest your food.
yeah.
So
It's taking that
it's
moment to pause
Mhm.
before you eat, because like you say, we put the food down in front of us, we're eating, and it might be that you're also on the phone at the
Right.
same time, or your TV's on. I try to, as best as I can, because again, when you're eating, if you're not paying attention to what you're eating, then you could end up eating more because you're not
Right. It's not registering.
it's not registering. Yeah, so if you're in that meditative state of mind before you begin, yeah, I never actually thought of that. I do try to pause because I try to follow intuitive eating, and that's very much about enjoying what you're eating, taking
Energizing your
time.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, and just really, taking it all in. So I do try that, but I never actually thought of the blockages that that's going to bring, because you're relaxing everything rather than sitting, and I can feel it as I'm talking about it. I don't know if I can explain
Yeah.
it.
But this is why I think it's so cool, because ancient cultures knew this, which is why they all pray before eating, but now we have the science to prove that that's what they were doing. And so that's why I think it's really interesting to help share with people, like, these are these tricks that are really not a lot, but it's not just that you feel grounded, and it's not just that it brings you calm, but then it helps your digestion through the day, and it's going to help you sleep at night, right? It's just this great trickle down effect.
Yeah, and even just the dropping into the parasympathetic nervous system, I find that now I do that without, it's just a subconscious thing now that I'll take just or I'll close my eye, and I don't think I need to do this to calm down, or I need to do this to prepare. It's just
Normal.
yeah, if I feel myself, if there's something going on and I'm waiting for a call, or it's customer services, or all of those modern things that you can really get like, oh my God, just
Yep.
all right, it's okay. And even just because I did used to be very anxious, so or I always my cortisol levels through the roof, hormones out of balance, and awful time for a couple of years. But like you said at the start, I didn't have a clue that that's what it was. I just thought this was normal. This was part of being a woman, and heavy bleeding and pain and headaches and not being able to sleep and spots and grey skin and dark under eyes and all of those things that now I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe that I didn't, all I needed to do was meditate and slow down and just listen to my body. It sounds so simple now.
It does now, but at the time you're like, what? It can't, that possibly can't be the only thing that I need to do. But, and I think
Yeah,
it's different for different people. But again, it's just about being curious and
yeah,
knowing that you are meant to feel vibrant and
mm,
happy and calm. Like that is how you are meant to be. That is your original nature. So if
yeah,
that's not how you're feeling, then it's just about doing a little bit of, having a little curiosity around what are some of the things that you could incorporate to get there.
mm, yeah,
And I think we have to stop normalizing that being burnt out is normal.
yeah. It's, and do you find that a lot of women who join your tribe and the women that you speak to, they don't even realize that they have burnout. They kind of just, they're just going over and over and over in the motions. They don't realize you have to kind of point it out to them.
Absolutely. I think again, they've just normalized like, yeah, I'm tired, but I've been tired for years. Right. Or I brain fog. That's just, it's my age. It's just because everyone has it. I remember a doctor even telling me it was because I was a mom. I was like, my mom's sharp as a whip. Why am I crazy?
Gosh.
But I think we just have to say, like, every woman in every age and every stage should feel vibrant and calm. It's that is normal. That is what
Yeah.
you should be. And if you're not that, then let's look at what it could be.
Yeah.
And let's look at what you're doing in your life.
That's so interesting as well that your doctor said that, because I feel like as well a lot of women, we kind of, well, they, you're told that by your doctor, oh, because it's because you're a mum. And I feel like a lot of women, we kind of then put this badge on us that, oh, I'm a acting, I'm going to use the word crazy. I don't normally like using it, but out of sorts, crazy. And this is how I'm meant to be acting because I'm 45 or I'm 50, and this is
Totally.
okay. And I'm meant to be tired. And like you said, brain flop, brain frog. Here we go. Brain fog, no R, and aches and pains. And like, this is all normal because of this. And we've kind of put that badge on. And no one tells us, well, now you're here. And so to say, actually, no, you don't need to wear that badge. Like, this
Right.
isn't how you're meant to be feeling. And if you do, then we can help with that.
That's right. And I think the other thing is people think, oh, it would be too hard. Like I have to do an hour and a half yoga class and an hour, and all we ask is, and most of all our classes on the platform are 10 minutes. It's take 10 minutes for yourself. Everybody can take 10 minutes. And if you don't have 10 minutes, then take 20 because you really need it. But take the 10 minutes and it'll create such a ripple effect that you'll want to keep doing more. But it's not as hard as it seems. Like I think in our mind we think that to make that switch is really, really hard.
Mm,
But it's not. It's literally taking 10 to 15 minutes a day to invest in yourself and give yourself some room to be curious and play with some different modalities and
yeah.
see what works best for your body and mind.
And then that becomes 10 to 15 minutes that you really look forward to every single day.
Correct.
Yeah, because that becomes your medicine. You need it.
Exactly.
You want to do the yoga, you want to do the breath work, you want to do the meditation, and
That's right.
self-care, you want to.
I mean, I went from being someone who couldn't sit for a minute. Literally, I could not sit for a minute because I had been working 100+ hour weeks for years. So I literally could not sit for even like a minute. It would just drive me insane. I would get super uncomfortable.
Nervous
Sound
system.
bowl, sound bowl healings felt like nails on a chalkboard. Like that was the state in which I was at. And I just started little by little. And now I can't wait to journal. I can't wait to see what the next prompt is for the week or
Yeah,
do the new breathwork technique. I literally can't have enough of it, and I've never felt better. And so I think it's one of those things where you just have to take it little by little and trust in the process.
Yeah.
And you're done when you're feeling amazing, right? Like you said, you feel young and calm and but energetic and all that. Then you've gotten there. And until
Yeah.
then, you just have to keep investing 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Yeah. And like you said, if you don't have 10 minutes, you need to do 20, you need it
That's
more.
right. You
Yeah.
need more.
You should say about the sound healing, because I do sound healing, I teach yoga, and I can always tell the women that need to come more, because when there's, like you said, nails on a chalkboard because
Yeah.
their foot's going, or their fidget, and in shavasana at the end, you can tell that they're just, I want to sit up, I need to sit up, I can't relax. And no matter how much you like, just breathe, let yourself relax
I
into.
used to get up at Shavasana. I used to like I would do
You, you want
yeah, I would just leave as soon as she'd be like, okay, and everyone in Shavasana, I would just leave. I was like, who wants to lay here? Right. Like, and now I'm like, they're extra, right? The whole class is gone and I'm still in there.
And that's it, because that's the state that we should always be in.
Right.
And that's what I always like, that Shavasana should feel like you're getting into a nice hot bath and you want to stay there and you're calm. There's nothing going on. No one's bothering you. Dogs are not barking. Kids are not knocking at the door. Like, imagine that in your mind. That's how that should feel. But that's how we hopefully should feel for the majority of the day. Of course, we're going to
Sure.
get those
But it's a
spots.
journey. And so all to
Yeah.
say that that didn't happen overnight. It happened over many, many
Yeah.
months. And it is this like it's kind of like that butterfly analogy of you're in this cocoon. And I just felt like I was crazy, but I committed. I joined a yoga teacher training and I just committed to trying because I was like, well, these people all look really happy, right?
But it's that commitment to yourself.
It's a commitment. Yeah. So, and I know not everyone has that time to kind of go all in like that, which is why we made it 10 minutes. But
Yeah.
once you give yourself that time and space to do it, it is incredible the transformation that
Yeah.
happens.
It is. And I'm sure, so if I'm not a mother to humans, just to dogs,
I have
um,
one, I'm a mom to one dog as well.
you've got one fur and one human.
Three humans.
Three humans. Ah. So if just talking to the other mothers who are listening, and I know from speaking to mothers that they don't, the things that we're saying about, oh well, it sounds nice, but, or they'll get the mum guilt, or that's one thing that I hear a lot from, like, oh, I can't because it's you and it's putting you first. What message do you give to them as a mother of three that has, you're now this beautiful butterfly that can meditate, and you've found this side of yourself?
I would say that my number one advice for any mother, especially if it's a young mother or any stage, is the best gift you can give to your children is to be your best self.
Mm.
Because you cannot, it's that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you, and again, everyone can take 10, 20, I mean, really even 30 minutes um, to really take care of their emotional and mental health. Like everyone talks about exercise, but this is what you need to take for your own mental and emotional health. And you will be such a calmer mother. Like I see so many moms yelling at their kids, but they don't want to leave them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, leave them on a device for 10 minutes, go meditate, and then come back and see what a difference it is, right? And they're going to see you doing that as well and think that that's also going to be such a great thing for them to want to emulate.
Yeah, especially, and I know, not leaving sons out, but just to focus on daughters for today.
Mm,
Think of the way that if your daughter is watching you
correct.
meditate and she's seeing you and you're talking, about your hormones and how you feel and what's normal, and
Yep,
she's then going to grow into a woman, 30s, 40s, and have this understanding already. It's going
that's
to be
right.
something. So you're setting precedent for a future young woman that is going to be calm, and she's not going to have burnout. And I'm sure no mother would want to wish, any of
Yes.
that on their
Well, and
daughter.
I think today it starts even earlier, like you said, but today the teenagers are stressed out and they all have anxiety and
Yeah,
depression. And, we've never had higher rates of suicide for teenagers. Like it's this horrible space. And so if she can see that it matters, that it's important enough for you to take time out of your day to take care of you, then she'll do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you never know. She might be curious. Like my kids are always like, "What are you doing if I'm doing any like breath of fire?" I'm like, "Come join, try it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, that's all right. But now you have a tool in your toolbox that you can decide."
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Do they like Breath of Fire when you do Breath of Fire with the kids, or?
They do like it. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. I can't do it in front of the dogs though because it sends them crazy. I have to take.
Really? Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't tried in front of my dog.
they get too excited. They're like, "What is she doing?" Or we want to be involved in this. So I have to take my even when I do breath work. The like face is my nose and my mouth. I'm like, no, this is no. I'm going to take myself away for this. This is a.
Oh, that's funny.
I know they're chihuahuas. They're tiny. They can get into all spaces.
Hmm.
So where can people find you? Of course, I'm going to put the links and
Yeah. So
in
all new members, I always offer a call just because I want to make sure I can help guide people on the best journey within Vibes Tribe. But you can sign up at vibestribe.co. And another thing I didn't mention is one of the things we did is we put all kinds of different affirmation products and decor like feng shui crystal trees and things. And we sell it all
yeah.
at cost because the idea is historically women have paid the pink tax and
Ah,
dating is more expensive, but we're doing a pink rebate. So this is for women. We sell it at cost. It's a part of the membership. It's how we are able to do it. And yeah, I would love to see all of you there.
yeah, amazing. And I will put the links in. I've got the website here, so if you watching. I've been looking through. There's some amazing things to read, and it's good. I saw the shop actually. I was looking at there was the writing on the mirror. Was that the affirmations? I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'll put everything. And you have women. You have women from all over the world.
We have women from all over the world on the platform. I will say it's harder to ship everywhere. So,
Yeah.
there are some restrictions there. But yeah, no, on the platform, we have women all over the world.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. That was really. I love chatting with you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Same.
Thank you. And for listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, reach out to either one of us. And like I said, we'll put all the links in the show notes and notes so you can reach out. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.